When someone frequently manipulates your emotions, it's not just a warning sign, it's a clear indication that they don't genuinely care about your well-being. Emotional manipulation is one of the most harmful behaviors in any relationship because it's both misleading and difficult to detect. When you're caught in it, it often feels like you're constantly walking on eggshells, trying to maintain harmony, questioning your choices, and wondering if you're doing enough or saying the right thing to avoid upsetting the other person. The reality is that emotional manipulation reflects a lack of genuine concern for you. It often appears in subtle, hard-to-spot patterns. For example, you may be guilted into doing things you're uncomfortable with, made to feel at fault for not meeting someone's expectations, or pressured into sacrificing your own comfort in the name of love or loyalty. The manipulator may use your insecurities to influence your actions, framing it as proof of your affection if you comply with their demand. This creates a power imbalance where you're constantly blamed, made responsible for their feelings, and expected to change in order to maintain the relationship. However, this is not how healthy relationships function. In a supportive partnership, your feelings are acknowledged and respected. You're not required to suppress your happiness or values to keep someone else content. Someone who truly cares about you will encourage your growth and evolve alongside you. They will offer genuine support, acknowledge your emotions, and create a space where you feel safe to be open without fear of your vulnerability being used against you. With emotional manipulation, the experience is very different. Instead of feeling reassured, you often feel uneasy, uncertain, and stuck. You begin to doubt yourself, your decisions, your worth, and whether you're doing enough. Over time, this persistent doubt can erode your confidence and self-respect. Manipulators are also skilled at reversing situations. They often position themselves as the victim, no matter the circumstances. One clear sign is a pattern of ongoing disrespect. They portray themselves as the ones in distress, needing constant attention and assistance, even when you're facing challenges of your own. Rather than offering mutual support, they shift their emotional burdens onto you. They make it seem as though you are responsible for resolving their issues and improving their mood. And no matter how much you give, it's rarely enough, because their satisfaction depends not on mutual respect, but on control. No matter how much you give or how much you sacrifice, it will never be enough for them, because the intention isn't to love you in return, but to keep you in a position where they can continue to use you for their own needs. This kind of behavior is harmful. It causes you to question your own perspective, your understanding of reality, and even your self-worth. You may begin to feel like your needs are unimportant. Over time, you might even start believing that you're to blame for the way you're being treated, telling yourself that if you were just a bit more patient, more agreeable, or more selfless, maybe things would improve. But the truth is, emotional manipulators rarely treat others with the respect they deserve, because their main concern is not your happiness, it's maintaining control. So how can you tell if you're in an emotionally manipulative relationship? It's when you constantly feel emotionally exhausted, nervous, and unsure of yourself. It's when your sense of value seems to depend on their approval, attention, or validation. You find yourself walking on eggshells, always worried about their reactions or opinion. You may notice you're constantly questioning your actions, apologizing too often even when you've done nothing wrong. Instead of supporting your growth, the relationship creates confusion and stress. It locks you into a pattern of fear and self-doubt, clouding your ability to think clearly. You may hesitate to speak up because you fear conflict or emotional backlash. But here's an important truth. Someone who genuinely cares for you doesn't manipulate your emotions. They don't make you feel guilty for having boundaries. They don't play with your feelings to serve their own needs. Instead, they support you, encourage your growth, and make space for your individuality. They treat you with respect, listen to you sincerely, and never demand that you give up your happiness or identity to satisfy them. If emotional manipulation has become a regular part of the relationship, it's time to step back and examine what's really happening. You are not responsible for another person's emotional stability. You are not there to absorb their frustration or carry the weight of their unresolved issues. Your emotions are valid. Your well-being matters. You deserve to be in a relationship where you are valued and accepted as you are, not pressured into becoming someone you're not. One of the clearest signs that someone lacks genuine concern is their refusal to take responsibility for their actions. Accountability is essential in any healthy relationship, whether it's with a partner, a friend, or a family member. It means both individuals recognize their impact on each other and are willing to own their behavior. When someone is unable to admit when they're wrong, constantly blames you for everything that goes wrong, or avoids owning up to their mistakes, it's more than just frustrating, it's a warning sign. It suggests they're not interested in growing alongside you but are instead using you to cover for their own shortcomings. Refusing to take accountability reflects emotional immaturity and a lack of growth. It's a way to avoid the discomfort that comes with recognizing and addressing personal flaws. This behavior can be harmful. It changes the relationship dynamic from two people working together to one person always carrying the weight of the other's unwillingness to take responsibility. Imagine being in a relationship where every disagreement or problem is made to seem like it's entirely your fault. No matter how clearly you explain your perspective or express your feelings, the other person never acknowledges their part. Instead, they shift the blame, deny responsibility, and make you feel as though you are always at fault. Over time, this can lead you to question your own judgment, your perception of events, and even your sense of reality. It can make you feel powerless, hesitant to speak up, knowing that any attempt to address concerns will likely be met with more defensiveness or blame. Mistakes happen in every relationship. Everyone has moments where they act thoughtlessly or cause unintended harm. What sets healthy relationships apart is the willingness to recognize those moments, apologize sincerely, and make a real effort to change. Accountability doesn't mean you're always wrong. It means acknowledging when your actions have had a negative effect and taking steps to address it. This shows maturity, empathy, and genuine care for the other person. When someone refuses to take responsibility, it signals that they are more focused on protecting their self-image than on the health of the relationship. Their actions show little regard for how their behavior impacts others. This lack of accountability can gradually damage the trust between you. Trust is built on honesty, dependability, and responsibility. If someone repeatedly avoids taking ownership of their actions, it creates ongoing uncertainty. You may begin to feel like you can't count on them to be honest or supportive. When things go wrong, they'll likely redirect blame to you or others, leaving you to manage the emotional strain alone. This behavior often shows up in subtle ways, such as deflecting responsibility during a disagreement, justifying poor behavior, or steering the conversation toward your faults rather than addressing their own. Over time, these patterns wear down the balance of the relationship and prevent meaningful connection or progress. At first, it might seem like small, isolated issues, but over time, these patterns become embedded in the relationship. You may find yourself constantly apologizing for things you didn't do, trying to solve problems that weren't yours, and feeling like you're the only one putting in the effort to improve things. This can leave you emotionally drained, frustrated, and with little room to express your own needs, because you're always focused on keeping the other person content. Accountability in a relationship also depends on empathy. When someone truly values you, they recognize how their actions affect you. They don't shift the blame or ignore your concerns. They take time to understand your point of view, validate your feelings, and accept responsibility for their behavior. They know that accountability isn't just about saying "I'm sorry," but about making a real effort to change and prevent the same issues from happening again. When someone refuses to be accountable, it's not just a lack of respect, it's also a lack of empathy. It means they're unwilling to acknowledge how their actions affect you and unwilling to take the steps needed to improve the relationship. In situations like this, you often end up doing all the emotional work, being the one to apologize, to adapt, and to hold everything together. This creates an imbalance where you carry the responsibility and the other person avoids the work of reflection and growth. It's not fair and it's not sustainable. If accountability is consistently missing, it's important to understand that it is not your job to fix the other person. You can't make someone take responsibility for their behavior, and you can't manage the consequences of their emotional immaturity. In a healthy relationship, both people acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, and work together to move forward. If that's not happening, It may be a sign that the other person isn't as committed to the relationship as you are. Accountability is the foundation of respect, trust, and personal growth. Without it, a genuine partnership can't exist. Consistent communication is also essential in building trust, understanding, and emotional connection. If someone is regularly inconsistent in how they engage with you, it sends a clear message. You are not a priority. Communication isn't just about talking, it's about being present in a way that is reliable, honest, and respectful. When someone switches between being engaged and distant, only contacts you when it suits them, or disappears without explanation, it leaves you feeling uncertain and overlooked. It's exhausting. And signs. And 3. They dismiss your feelings. Disrespectful, inconsistent communication often leaves you feeling confused. You're unsure where you stand in the relationship. At times they may seem present, engaged, and interested. Then suddenly they become distant, unresponsive, or completely silent. This unpredictable behavior makes it hard to trust that the relationship is secure or that they are genuinely invested in your well-being. You begin second-guessing their words, their actions, and their intentions, because nothing remains consistent long enough to give you confidence in your place in their life. Sometimes they might offer vague excuses for their absence, such as "I've been busy" or "I needed space," without providing meaningful communication or reassurance. These responses don't address the real issue. If someone truly values you, they will make the effort to stay in touch, even during stressful or busy times. Everyone needs space occasionally, but someone who cares will still let you know they're thinking of you and that the connection still matters to them. Inconsistent communication creates a pattern of uncertainty. When someone disappears or only engages when it suits them, you may feel like you're constantly trying to earn their attention. You might start questioning whether your expectations are too high, or whether you're asking for too much by wanting more reliable communication. It's common to make excuses for them, convincing yourself that they're overwhelmed or simply not good at expressing themselves. However, this ongoing cycle becomes emotionally draining. Deep down, you recognize that the effort isn't mutual. You find yourself waiting for signs of care, a message, a call, or even a simple acknowledgement, without knowing if or when it will come. Over time, this one-sided pattern takes a toll. Inconsistent communication doesn't just affect your mood, it disrupts the emotional security every relationship needs. It introduces constant instability, making it unclear whether the other person is truly committed or likely to withdraw when challenges arise. Relationships need trust to thrive. Without open and consistent communication, that trust begins to break down. This lack of dependability can leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, uncertain of what to expect or how to interpret silence. It may even cause you to doubt your own instincts and feel as if you can't count on the other person to be there when it matters most. And that's not just frustrating, it's emotionally exhausting. True connection is built on open, consistent, and transparent communication. It means knowing that when you reach out, the other person will respond with respect, thoughtfulness, and honesty. It means not having to constantly question your place in the relationship, because there is a steady exchange of understanding and mutual care. When communication becomes inconsistent, it creates distance. Over time, that distance can turn into a barrier that becomes harder to remove. Instead of feeling like an equal partner, you may begin to feel like you're waiting for brief moments of attention or affection, only when it's convenient for them. If communication is frequently unreliable, it's important to address it directly. The longer the inconsistency goes unchecked, the more deeply it becomes part of the relationship pattern. You should be able to express your needs and explain how the behavior is affecting you. A relationship cannot grow in an environment of confusion and uncertainty. If the other person genuinely cares, they'll be willing to work on improving communication. They should be open to discussing their behavior and understand that it's not about demanding attention. It's about building a relationship where both individuals feel seen, heard, and respected. However, if someone consistently refuses to recognize how their inconsistency is affecting the relationship, or avoids making the effort to communicate meaningfully, it signals a lack of commitment. Healthy relationships require consistent effort, openness, and shared responsibility. If you find yourself as the only one trying to keep the communication going, it's worth considering whether this relationship is meeting your emotional needs, Everyone deserves relationships where communication is reliable, where they feel heard, and where their presence is valued. If someone repeatedly fails to show up in this way, it doesn't reflect your worth. It reflects their lack of investment. Sign Jin 4. They only come around when they need you. You deserve more than someone who treats you as a backup or only reaches out when it benefits them. You deserve someone who will make time for you even when life is busy or challenging, because they understand that strong relationships are built on steady, honest communication. In any healthy relationship, mutual respect and care are essential, and a key part of that is showing genuine interest in each other's lives. When someone consistently centers conversations around their own problems, needs, or desires, without showing interest in your thoughts or feelings, it's a clear sign they're not engaging in a balanced or caring way. Relationships are meant to be a two-way connection, where both individuals actively contribute to each other's growth and well-being. When the focus is consistently on one person's needs, the relationship becomes unbalanced. This imbalance can lead to emotional exhaustion for the other person. At the core of self-centeredness is a lack of empathy, the ability to understand and relate to another person's feelings, which is essential for any meaningful relationship. When someone is only concerned with their own thoughts and emotions, they fail to recognize that your experiences, feelings, and perspectives are equally important. It's not just about listening, it's about being fully present, offering support when needed, and showing genuine care for your experience. If someone frequently dominates conversations, overlooks your needs, or minimizes your concerns, they are not demonstrating the respect and attentiveness required in a healthy relationship. Self-centeredness can take many forms, but often begins with an unwillingness to make space for the other person to express themselves. You may try to share something meaningful only for it to be dismissed or redirected back to their own situation. Over time, this can make you feel invisible or unheard, as if your presence is secondary, or you're simply there to serve a role in their life. You may even start questioning your own worth, wondering if your thoughts and feelings matter at all. This can gradually wear down your self-esteem and sense of value. It's important to understand that self-centered behavior isn't always intentional. Some people may be so focused on their own struggles or wants that they don't realize how they're affecting those around them. But regardless of intent, the result is the same. You feel emotionally drained and undervalued. It becomes a one-sided relationship where the other person continues to take without giving anything meaningful in return. In any healthy relationship, mutual support is essential. When both people are invested in each other's well-being, it creates a foundation of partnership and cooperation. You support each other through both challenges and successes, with empathy, encouragement, and shared understanding. However, when self-centeredness becomes the foundation, that balance disappears. The relationship slips into a pattern where one person gives continually while the other remains focused on themselves. You may find yourself doing all the emotional work, providing care, attention, and support while receiving little to nothing in return. This creates an emotional imbalance where one person feels drained, while the other remains unaware or unconcerned about the impact of their behavior. Self-centeredness in a relationship can also appear as entitlement. The other person may begin to expect your time, support, and emotional energy, without offering the same in return. They might assume you will always be available to listen or comfort them, but they don't extend that same consideration to you. Sign Jin 5. They don't celebrate your win. It becomes an unspoken expectation that your resources, your attention, empathy, and availability are always accessible when they need them, without acknowledging that you have needs of your own. This sense of entitlement can make you feel like an afterthought, always giving, always adjusting, while your own comfort and well-being are overlooked. Over time, this imbalance often leads to resentment. You may begin to feel more like a support system than an equal partner, someone who is there for them, but not someone who is valued in return. The more you give without feeling supported or appreciated, the more frustration builds. Eventually, you might feel taken for granted, as if your contributions go unnoticed and unacknowledged. This emotional depletion can leave you feeling isolated, exhausted, and uncertain about the relationship's future. The longer this pattern continues, the harder it becomes to view the relationship as a true partnership. it starts to feel one-sided. A healthy relationship involves mutual care and attention. Both people should show interest in each other's lives, be supportive during difficult times, and celebrate each other's achievements. If someone only focuses on their own needs, emotions, and priorities, without making room for yours, it's a clear sign they do not fully value the relationship. If self-centeredness has become the norm, it's important to recognize that your needs matter just as much. You deserve to be seen, heard, and appreciated, not treated as a background character in someone else's life. A balanced relationship requires both individuals to contribute equally to its success. If the other person is unwilling or unable to create that balance, it may be time to reconsider the relationship. You deserve someone who genuinely cares about your needs, listens attentively, and is committed to making the relationship work for both of you. If they cannot meet you halfway, it's a sign that the relationship may not be healthy or sustainable. When someone consistently disrespects your boundaries, it shows a lack of regard for your well-being. Boundaries are not optional. They are essential to every respectful and healthy relationship. Boundaries are essential for protecting your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. They create the structure needed for both individuals to feel safe, understood, and respected. Boundaries are not barriers. They are clear limits that communicate how you expect to be treated. When someone disregards your boundaries, it signals a lack of respect or concern for your needs. This behavior can deeply affect your self-esteem, emotional security, and overall mental health. Setting boundaries isn't just about refusing what makes you uncomfortable. It's about creating a space where you can feel secure, maintain your identity, and flourish. Boundaries can take many forms. Emotional boundaries may involve needing space during stressful times. Physical boundaries might include how you prefer to be treated in terms of personal space or touch. Intellectual boundaries involve expecting your ideas and thoughts to be heard and respected. Regardless of the type, boundaries reflect your needs and values. They help ensure that you feel safe and supported in a relationship. When someone repeatedly ignores or crosses your boundaries, it often means they are more focused on their own desires than on respecting yours. They may pressure you into uncomfortable situations or persistently push you to act against your values. They might also invade your space without considering how it affects you. This kind of behavior fosters an unhealthy dynamic where your feelings are overlooked and your needs are minimized. Over time, this can weaken your confidence. You might begin to question whether your needs are valid or whether you're allowed to set limits at all. It can leave you feeling like your comfort doesn't matter. Disrespecting boundaries is a form of emotional manipulation. It involves pressuring or influencing someone to act against their will, or to become someone they're not comfortable being. When someone repeatedly pushes past your limits, they're asking you to compromise who you are for their convenience. This can make you feel guilty for having boundaries or lead you to doubt your own emotions. Eventually, you may start to feel like you're being unreasonable just for protecting your well-being. This creates a damaging pattern where your emotional health is constantly at risk. You begin adjusting to meet someone else's needs while losing sight of your own. And over time, you may forget what it feels like to stand firm in your values. It's important to remember that healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, and that includes honoring each other's boundaries. When both people make an effort to understand and support each other's limits, it creates a relationship where both individuals can grow, feel appreciated, and be genuinely heard. However, when someone uses guilt as a way to control you, especially by repeatedly ignoring your boundaries, the relationship becomes unbalanced. This imbalance creates resentment, fear, and frustration. It's not just a matter of feeling disrespected. You also lose the space to maintain your sense of identity and personal integrity. A relationship in which boundaries are consistently ignored often builds up emotional tension. The person whose boundaries are violated may begin to feel stuck, as if they can't escape the pressure to constantly give in or please the other person. This emotional strain can become overwhelming, leading to feelings of isolation and disconnection, even when the person is physically present. Often the one ignoring boundaries believes they are entitled to do so. They might dismiss your reactions by saying things like, "I didn't mean to upset you," or "you're overreacting." These responses minimize the impact of their actions and make your feelings seem unimportant. Such dismissal can lead you to feel like your comfort doesn't matter, or that you don't have the right to protect your well-being. Over time, this can create a pattern of avoidance. When your boundaries are constantly pushed aside, you may stop speaking up. You might give up on expressing your needs altogether, expecting that they won't be respected. This leads to a one-sided dynamic where one person controls the tone of the relationship, and the other constantly adjusts to avoid conflict. This kind of environment is not only emotionally draining, but it also prevents real growth. Without mutual respect for boundaries, there's little room for either person to develop or evolve. The same problems repeat, with no meaningful resolution. In some situations, the person crossing your boundaries may claim they are doing it out of love or care. They might say they know what's best for you or that their intentions are good, but genuine care doesn't require you to sacrifice your needs or values. True respect means listening to each other, honoring each other's feelings, and creating an atmosphere where both people can speak openly without fear of being dismissed. If you find yourself in a relationship where your boundaries are not being respected, it's important to take a step back and evaluate the situation. No one has the right to push past your personal limits. Protecting your emotional and mental well-being should always be a priority. It's okay to be clear and assertive about your boundaries, and it's essential to recognize when someone's ongoing refusal to respect them signals deeper underlying issues in the relationship. You deserve to be in a relationship where your needs and boundaries are respected, where mutual understanding is the foundation, and where both individuals work together to build a safe and supportive environment. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, it may be necessary to reflect on whether the relationship is truly healthy, or if it's time to focus on your well-being. When someone repeatedly breaks promises, it signals a lack of commitment and a disregard for the value of the relationship. Promises are not just words. They represent trust, accountability, and dependability. In a healthy relationship, promises are kept because they reflect care and a willingness to take responsibility. But when commitments are frequently broken, the foundation of trust begins to weaken, and over time, that trust becomes increasingly difficult to rebuild. Trust grows through consistent, reliable actions. Whether large or small, promises matter. When someone commits to being present at an important event or agrees to handle something on their own, it's not just about the task, it's about demonstrating that they care enough to show up and follow through. If these promises are often broken, you may start to question whether their words hold any real value. Even minor promises, when repeatedly ignored, can lead to feelings of betrayal. It's common for people to dismiss broken promises with excuses like, "I forgot," or "it wasn't a big deal." But even small lapses can slowly erode trust. Each time a promise is broken, it suggests that your time, your needs, and your expectations are not being taken seriously. This can create ongoing frustration and emotional fatigue. Over time, it may leave you feeling unimportant or overlooked. You might begin to wonder whether the other person is genuinely invested in making the relationship work, or simply maintaining appearance. When promises are not honored, it becomes harder to feel secure or valued in the relationship. This emotional strain can deepen, especially when you're the one consistently adjusting or compensating for what the other person failed to do. Every time a promise is broken, you may find yourself repeatedly forgiving their failures, hoping they will improve, only to face the same disappointment again. This ongoing cycle can be emotionally exhausting, especially when you continue to give them the benefit of the doubt, even after your trust has been violated multiple times. One of the most damaging effects of broken promises is the sense of invisibility they create. When someone consistently fails to follow through on their commitments, it sends the message that your needs are not a priority. It's not just about the specific promise, it's about what their behavior says on a deeper level.